All right. Hi, it is Liz from Lohas Canada. It is October, maybe the 18th, 2020, and this is a podcast about knitting and about sewing and about different crafty things, and I do look more on the eco-friendly side of things. So it is now officially fall winter, so I have been getting into knitting and doing things with wool, which is really nice because it is starting to get quite chilly here. I am also loving that because I used to make socks quite a bit. It was the first thing that I made, and I made them consistently for like 3 years. I didn't make a ton of pair, and I wanted to build up a stockpile so that I would be able to just keep on having them, and then when I wash them, at least have 7 days worth before I have to wash them again. So I only knitted a couple socks per year because I wasn't hardcore into knitting, but it's really nice just to have those items now. They're already done and they're made, and now I'm just able to pull them out and I have them in my wardrobe. So we will get into some knitting, and I finished this top and it's made of cotton, and it is the pattern My Secret Crop Top by Jessica Maed. I've been knitting this quite a bit, but I modified it. I heavily modified it. It's cotton, which is really nice. It's a little bit cool now for this weather, but I still really like it. It's all blocked out. I find cotton does, when I block it, it does shrink up the fibers a bit. I will have to see how, when it gets into some hot weather, how much it relaxes, because I do know my other one does relax. So the original pattern, if you haven't seen it on my previous podcast, is basically just spaghetti straps. So it cuts off around, well, wherever you want, however you want, and then it's got spaghetti straps across. So I wanted to try to do something different because I've knitted 3 of them before, and I wanted to modify it. So it will be on the Ravelry page of how I modified it, though make sure you do read the notes, because I did put this on when I first did it before the blocking, and it was a little snug on the neckline. So I either need to make this band here longer, so then it'll go over, or I need to stop the rows sooner and still have the same net band. So I still essentially needs to be longer. So if I like this height on my neck, which I do, but it could come down a bit, or on the back is not the same as the front. So I am trying to expand out of my comfort zone because I do want to kind of learn new things when I knit and kind of experiment. I could always be ripped out, but I want to really try to experiment with that. So for this, I ended up gradually decreasing and then kind of just going up a couple inches, and then using this border and just knitting straight. Where on the back, so on the back I decreased, and then I just ended up knitting a chunk that went up my back just straight. What I did is I bound off for the armpit, did the back, and then did the other armpit, bound it off, and then did the front. And then with the front, with the straps, I just made it as long. I kept on trying it on as well because I didn't know how long it would be to join up the back and the front together, and then just stitched it together. And it was really nice because it was in the round, and I was able just to do stockinette. So in the pattern, it's a 3x3 ribbing, usually for the body, but I didn't want to do that. I held 2 colors and I just held them together, and I just really wanted to create this like nice marble effect. I also made it longer, of course, because the pattern is a crop top, but I made it, well, it's about my jean length. I probably needed to make it a bit longer in the back next time because it does rise up just a little bit in the back. It's a perfect length for the front. I really enjoy that. So I'm really happy with this one. This was probably like the first one that I was showing to my friends and family, and they were just like, oh my gosh, it looks like a store-bought like item, like, and I was like, yes, you know, it's just, it's a nice color, it's a nice fit. It, you know, with my other tank tops. The spaghetti strapped ones are really nice, but you know, you don't really see that too much in the store. So this one was just kind of a nice mellow subdued one. So this one, I still have some cotton, and I think they're in a bit of a different weird color. I think it's another blue and maybe purple. I'll have to look again, but I'm kind of putting away my cotton. This one is 100% cotton. So I do have a couple other projects, and the only reason I finished this, for me, this took about a week and a half, only because I'm taking that course and I'm able to knit majority of the course right now, just because we're doing like some intro stuff. So for me, that was a super fast knit. If you're a really fast knitter, you could probably knit this quite fast, but majority of it's like, you know, the body it takes a while. Now, this is My Little Black Skirt by Skeindeer, and I've talked about this for a while. I put it down, but then about a month ago or so, or maybe longer, I picked it back up, and or maybe it was in the summertime. I had it all done. It flared out. It was a little bit short, but I didn't have any of this hemp yarn left. I held it with a hemp yarn and a sock weight, so the black is the sock. I picked these colors, like I really do like the blue, but it's a little bit too much if it was just blue. I think I've got more of a muted tone, but when you pick colors, sometimes you're just excited about the color and don't really think about the product, like the end product. Anyway, so I ripped it apart because it flared out, and I wore it a couple times just around, just seeing how comfortable I would be wearing it, feeling it, and I was just like, you know, if it was maybe a drapier, if I was just doing the hemp, maybe because it drapes a lot more, but the sock has nylon in it, so it's a bit more structured, then maybe I would have cut the flow and then also made it longer. But for this, I just wasn't loving it, so I ripped it out. And also, when I could finish this last year, my needles broke. Like, they were bamboo needles, and I guess I was just holding them super tight, but they kept on breaking down to the point where, like, I ended up just with, like, this little stump. And I was just like, oh, thank God, like, I finished it. So I thought I got the same needles width, but really, because these are metal, they are much tighter gauge, and I didn't think that there was going to be such a big difference. But you can tell, like, you can tell this little lip here, that is the difference. So this is much tighter gauge than this. So I'm hoping when I block it out, it does loosen up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just going to be standing there and it'll be fine and you won't be able to see it so much, but that's just how it is. So this is just a straight stockinette, and what I was doing is I found the two sides, opposite corners that I was taking it in as per the pattern. So when I ripped it out just up until my hips this way started to go in. So I didn't really concern too much about the back of my like bum, though that is a consideration because it is definitely higher up, like the material goes higher up, but I wanted to get it over my hips and then go taper it in. So I have done that. I'm about mid-thigh, and so what I'm doing now is I split it because I do need to walk into it, and if I just keep on tapering it, I won't be able to walk into it, or it won't be, it does have some stretch in it for sure, but I won't be able to walk properly in it. So I've done a mid-slit. I was thinking I might try to figure out how to, just figure out which is going to be the front and the back so that I'm able to make the back a bit longer than the front when I get to that stage where I'm also almost out of yarn. So, I mean, this does go a long way, so I have a bit, but I do want to make sure that I have more at the back because it does seem to rise up. So that's as far as I got for my slit, where I'm just purling and then, or I'm just knitting and then coming back and purling. So I'm not doing, I did do a decrease. I was thinking, oh, I'll do the decreases in the slit. And then once I started doing that, I'm like, oh, I actually don't want the slit to split out. So if I do any decreases, which I'm doing maybe every fourth row, then I do it from the opposite corner of the slit. So I do really like this pattern, and I do like this top part and this part very well written. I was able to follow it, but I will try to make the little black skirt at a different time with different material now that I know how to understand it and how much material I'm going to use. Because when I did the black skirt before and it flared out, obviously it uses a lot more material when it flares out. This one going in, so I'm able to get it quite a lot longer. So it'd be nice to kind of maybe even flare it out around the knee, like gradually mid-thigh start flaring it out from there, rather than flaring it out just below kind of your hip bones and then have it flare out. So it's just really personal preference. It does take me a bit to do this. I was alternating between this and this, just depending on where I was on this. I really like having, I didn't think I would like it, but I really do like having two different things on the needle. So something a little bit more intricate, like when I came up to, you know, I could do the body and not think about it. But then up here, I kind of had to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to piece it together. So then if I needed to do something just to straighten it and didn't have anything to think about, then I could grab for this. So when I got this one off the needles, I was trying to find something else that I was going to knit, looking at my stash, seeing what I had, and I was looking through different, I really wanted to knit a cardigan because I don't have a wool cardigan, and we're coming up this cool, nice weather, so I was thinking, oh man, it would be so perfect. So I was looking at different patterns, and I had purchased them before, and when I was reading through them, I was having a pretty hard time figuring out the construction of it. And because I'm a beginner with, I've only made one full piece sweater before that with a knitting flat front and back and just seaming them, knitting a cardigan was just a little bit, I needed something really user-friendly. And I had purchased the pattern from Skeindeer, Haust, I think, H-A-U-S-T. Yes, sorry, I'm just looking it up now. Yeah, H-A-U-S-T. So it's just a cardigan, and I do really like her constructions because she talks about a lot of it in her podcast, how, you know, she has the construction for the shaping of the back, because when I did the sweater it was just, you know, flat one, it was exactly the same. So you really do want to have that nice shaping in the back so it doesn't pull. So I really wanted, that's why I bought one of her patterns, or a couple of her patterns, because I want to learn those techniques of how to really fit a nice sweater. So I got that and I was able to understand it. The only thing is it had a schematic for the design on it, which I was like, oh great, like I can easily read row by row, do this, do this, do this, do this. So I was super happy with that. So I ended up, this looks really small, it probably is, but it I'll steek it in the front, and then I was thinking I can always add some extra bandwidth to it at the front. So it does look quite small. It is a well-fitted cardigan. It's not supposed to be big or oversized or anything like that. It does look a little bit small to me though, but I was thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna make the band larger. This is premium alpaca, so 50% alpaca, 50% merino wool. So, and they're 50-gram balls, so I was a little bit worried when I started knitting it if I was going to have enough of it, but we will see. So I've knitted this much so far. I just added a second ball to it, so this ended up being 50 grams. So I think just because, you know, it's a bit tiny, but I think it'll work. I'm a bit of a not super tiny person. Anyhow, so I'm about halfway done the pattern. I did mess up on the pattern. My needle, the bamboo part came apart from the plastic bit. The plastic bit actually broke off, so the plastic part here where the needle and the bamboo meet, broke off, so the plastic was still on the tip of it at the end. So I screwed up on a bunch of stitches because when it fell apart, I wasn't able to figure out how to put it back together, and I should have probably had some life float so if I needed to go back to a certain row. But that is that, and I just kept on knitting as best as I could. And yeah, it's really super squishy and soft, and we shall see how it goes. So it's bottom up, and once I do the pattern, then I can do stockinette depending on how much yarn I have and how long I want it to be. So that is what has been my intricate project, and then the skirt has been kind of my continue to knit whenever I feel like it, no thinking about it. So I forgot to show you what I got last podcast, and my sister bought this for me. She was in Victoria. So I'm on Vancouver Island. I think I forgot to mention that, but I'm on the west coast of Canada. And she bought me 100% local grown wool, naturally dyed in Victoria, red onion skins, 115 grams. So it's definitely an uneven skein, but she was thinking, oh, you can make like a hat or something like that, which will be pretty interesting because I've never made a hat before, but it seems pretty easy. I have also ordered some yarn. So I just got the box of yarn today on the day I was recording this. So I did order this from a website, YarnCanada.ca. These are going to be gifts, so they're not going to be like if you get a hand spun something, you need to be a bit more delicate, where these are more treated, some of them, or they have nylon in them, so they're a bit more user friendly for those who don't knit or have knitted garments. So I will show you these beautiful superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. Now, so my thought is I'm going to make some socks, not with those, probably, what was I thinking with these? I think I was thinking mitts or something. I didn't realize how slinky they were. I have some stuff that I have saved for patterns and such, so I may be thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. Who knows? But you know what I was thinking for these? I got many of these because we were talking around the fire around Thanksgiving, and we're talking about those socks that have the white at the top with the stripe, the red stripe, and then at the bottom's kind of a lightish gray like this, and then the heels got the red stripe again. So I was looking at different patterns online, and they do use this wool. So it's Briggs & Little, the Tuffy. And so you knit these on, I think, 3.5 millimeter needles, I believe. So this one is a 80% pure wool and 20% nylon, and it is made in Canada. So I do try to support as many Canadian suppliers as possible. I got this like a pinky red for my mom is what I am thinking for some knitted items. So here is the red. I think I just got one skein. So it'll be white, red. And then I was also thinking I'm going to have to do a little bit, like, do I soak this beforehand and then let it dry, or is it going to bleed when they wash it onto, I guess I could just use cold water so it doesn't, but I'll have to make sure that whoever I give it to uses cold water. So white, red, and then these are all from the same company, all the same thickness and content as well. I think that's what I was thinking with these two, is to make a hat, because it's kind of a sock wool, and being able to make a hat out of this while it's still soft but not so itchy for your head, and it is pretty fine. So they do have the colors on them. So this was ECRU. I don't know really how you'd pronounce that. So that's the white. And this color is the Oxford. So this color and this color, I believe, are slightly different. Nope, that color is the same. So just maybe different dye lots. So those ones are supposed to be the same. I guess they are. And then this one is called Smoke. So such a subtle difference, eh? Nice but subtle. And then the red, I think, is just called Red Mix. This one, did I already say this? Oatmeal. And that one was Rosewood. I think I'm just now repeating them. And I did get new needles, not new needles, but just needles for the size. So Knitter's Pride, this is a 3.5 millimeter, 16 inch. So that will be for a hat, I think, or maybe it calls for socks? I don't know. No, these ones are for the socks for sure. So Chiagu, 3.5 millimeter needle in the 9 inch. So those are definitely the socks ones, and the other one is for the hat. That's got to be it. So let's get into some sewing. I don't have a ton of stuff that I have been sewing because I've been predominantly knitting, and I still haven't really found my groove of how to do like, do I knit or sew in the morning and then schoolwork in the afternoon and then gym at night is kind of my thought process, but it's been kind of difficult to get more into routine. So I've been doing more of the sewing like on the weekends. I did get my serger fixed-ish, so I got the plate in. I was able to put it all in, but for some reason it's not feeding through right, so everything's hooked up. But the feed dogs, I am still researching it and figuring out how to do that right, so it's just not going through correctly. So it's been holding me up a little bit, but I have been working on a couple different projects. So I just finished this last night, and I have not laced it up, otherwise I would show you how it looks. But I finished up the corset, so I have not cut all my strings. And I probably should have done the corset bottom a little bit better, bound it off a bit better, but it is done. So this is the corset flat. This one has zap straps in it, not super eco-friendly, but, and I put a zipper in it because I still want to do, so my next step is once I figured out if this works properly and if I want to make any final adjustments to the pattern or anything, is to use the really good, good $30 a meter fabric. So it's a black one, and then continue to do different things. So to perfect it a bit more, because things aren't perfect in this, things aren't quite laying as flat as it could, I have to kind of do some adjustment to the back. My grommets, for some reason, I don't know how I screwed this up, but my grommets on one side are fine, and then the grommets on the other side, I put in backwards. Like, I don't know. I don't even understand how I did that. Yeah. But, you know what? I just keep on practicing, and I just keep learning, right? That's all we can do to get better, and corsets are definitely years to learn. So my other project that I thought I would get a lot further in, and I was kind of getting a bit frustrated, I have not cut any of my strings apparently, is underwear. So I bought this fabric at the Fabric Land in Victoria. It's so I've been looking for this kind of nice feeling, not so plasticky feeling. It's got, I think, 95% cotton and then 5% spandex or something like that, maybe 97% cotton something. So something that still has a spandex in it so that it can stretch, but still have the majority of it cotton, just because it's nice to have breathable cotton underwear. I got the elastic when I was in Victoria too, and I think maybe the Pico one from Blackbird when I did an order last. So these ones are from Ellie and Mac, and I did the high rise ones previously, and those ones came up to my belly button. So I am not super excited about those. Those ones I still wear when I have like my period, or like if I'm wearing high rise jeans, which I don't wear too often, but it's not something I really grab for because they are a bit too high. So these ones are a bit shorter, so these are the mid-rise, but they are still like, they have the full bum and everything, which is great. But I do want to try a different pattern and make some more of these. So I got, I think, a meter of this fabric, and it just used up such a little amount. So I do want to make a bunch more underwear, but I've been doing it one underwear at a time just to make sure I like the pattern, because, you know, if I cut out and made a whole bunch of those high-rise ones, I would have been happy but not thrilled. So I was thinking, I do have another pattern that I got at the thrift store. Might try that one out. It's more of like a thong, but it's got more lacy, so I don't really know if I would do that. But I was thinking I just might take some underwear that works really well for me and then trace them out to try to make my own pattern. Because it's relatively, once you've made these a couple times, it's relatively easy to understand. And there's some great YouTube videos of how to make underwear that it's really easy to understand. There is just a couple tricks, like I did not get this picot edge. I should have cut these strings. I did not get this picot edge close enough to this edge here, so I actually did it the wrong side. That's why there is so many weird looking strings around. So when you do it on the opposite side, so then you do it on the right side first, so then you can flip it over, and then sew on the top side so that both edges are closed in. So I did it too far for the picot edging. Like, the picot edging should just be a little peekaboo, and then I also did it too close into the fabric, so the fabric's peeking through on the other side. So there's just little tips and tricks like that. The other one is for the gusset. You can do the gusset this way, so the raw edges are on the outside, or you can actually flip it in and then so having the right sides together, do the gusset and then flip it out so that no raw edges are showing. So it also just really depends on your material. Obviously, when you have more nylon and stuff, most times, depending on the material, a lot of times it doesn't pull apart as much, but like cotton thread, and depending on your weave as well. But I do really like this material. It was freaking expensive though, so that was the only downside. So and this is material I would say I would have to feel to make more underwear because even the last pair of underwear that I made, it does feel a little bit more plasticky than this, and this is kind of a nice soft material. So that is everything that I have made. But I did go to my thrift store, and my thrift store is filling up now to the max. So I do have some more patterns to show you. I got out my other pattern box. Actually, I went through now some winter patterns, so I'm going to go through my stash of stuff and start deciding what I'm going to start sewing for this winter, kind of in this fall autumn phase. But I wanted to show you some of the patterns that I got. So if you're an avid thrift store shopper, you'll know it's actually better to buy in the opposite season than you're in. You're going to find more. Things aren't going to be in demand. So like if I go thrift store shopping now, it's great time to look for summer stuff. It's a great time to look for sunglasses for sure. Like, I never find sunglasses. It's very rarely in the summertime you'll find a pair there because everybody wants one, but in the wintertime it's piled high. So just shopping for the opposite season there is essential. And they just had a whole bunch of patterns that came in, and I do need to stop buying patterns because they are 25 cents at this thrift store, but I really need to actually start narrowing it down of what I want. And you know, I just don't want a huge collection of patterns that I'm never going to, I have really great intentions but never actually sew. So with my serger still being out of commission, I haven't sewn up that swimsuit, and the fabric pieces are all cut out. I just haven't been able to. I might start sewing it on my sewing machine, but my sewing machine does not love that sewing machine fabric. It'll do it, but just not do it super well like my serger does. So it's doable. With those underwear, I just used my sewing machine, no problems. So this is McCall's 6615, and I just thought, oh, those are really cute two-piece and also a cover-up. So that might be something in the future. Now, I have been trying to find more classic staple patterns, and a lot of times older patterns are more of that classic staple because I am trying to use more linens, 100% cottons, stuff that doesn't have a lot of stretch into it. When you have stretch, it's usually got some sort of you know, polyester in it. So I'm really trying to steer away from polyester as much as I can and slowly replace all of my store-bought clothes with the me-made clothes that can take over and use the optimal fibers that will all naturally break down. So Simplicity 5022. So just a really classic shirt, and even though it's a misses, it is my size. So this is McCall's 3033. I really like C option. I think just having some of those like staples in your wardrobe that you can just reach for. You're not necessarily wearing that every day. And then just also having like a classic poncho, I think, is really essential in your wardrobe. And then just having something, you know, you can even just get some silk. I do have the intention of doing some eco dyeing on silk. I just haven't done it this year, but I do have the silk and I just need to start setting that up. So it'd be really amazing just to even do a poncho with the silk, or just like a nice wrap type thing. So even though it's a really basic pattern, Butterick, this is 4443, and right now bell sleeves are really in, so I was thinking I could make something a little bit fun with that. And it does have, you know, elastic and stuff, but it can be also a broadcloth or flannelette. So there's just a lot of options with those things. You don't want it too heavy though. Simplicity 9014. So this style is coming back, sometimes with sleeves, sometimes without, but you can incorporate both, and it's just coming back, even though I think it's from like the 90s, right? Like having that kind of a little bit like cowgirl, but not necessarily. I have seen it in some recent shows, and different designers are coming out with their own version, which is very, very similar. Vogue pattern 1189, and I guess I was in a really fancy mood because there's some fancy dresses coming out of here, but I was just looking at I think the shape of this. Oh, you know what? I was looking at the dress. So if you look at the dress, just making sure it's in focus, and I'm looking at the line drawing at the back. And it's got almost like a wraparound on one side, so it comes over. So I think that's why I got that one, because I wanted a standard dress like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be that fancy, but I wanted something that shape. Kind of a wraparound, but not a full wraparound. Butterick 5061. So I was thinking for this, because I'm going out into like a new career, I wanted something that I could bend over without wearing, you know, like picking up kids and stuff, and I could just easily throw this on, be nice and drapey and loose, and I wouldn't have to worry about it too much. But then on the opposite end, McCall's 3197, which is just some tank tops basically. But the reason why I got this is because of the linen, right? Linen does not have any stretch to it, so I needed to find other tops that I could make that was an alternative, you know, for my days off and stuff. 3010 McCall's, and the reason why, if you look at the design and not so much of the floral, that would be a great like medieval dress. So you can't really tell, but in this one she does have like a slit here and then a different material down here. So it just has, like, if I wanted to do a bit of a fancier, like a Renaissance or anything like that, I can mix and match maybe the top doing something else, but just having that nice slit down there. I do really like the style though. Not in a white. I think it's really hard to envision it because it is white, so you think more bridal than anything. 2 more left. Simplicity 9935. And I don't know why I got this one. I'm guessing the shape. I think I was in a fancy, medieval. I'm going to sew this for a festival or something. I think also because it's my size. But you can definitely, I mean, the sleeves are interesting for sure. But I think I was looking at the shape for the body. And the last one, Simplicity 3959. And I do want to make the jumpsuit. I think that'd be really fun, especially like working with kids. You could just throw it on. I don't spend a lot of time on my wardrobe, like thinking about my wardrobe or anything like that. So I think it'd be really nice. I can do this in a linen, and so I've seen lots of linen patterns like that, and I just want to really try it out and see how it goes. Or you could do this like in a hemp denim as well. That would be fun. Different look for sure. So those are all the different patterns that I got and the things that I have been working on. I hope you guys are all getting into your sweater loving like winter project knitting. I always knit a lot more in the winter time, so it'll be interesting to see this year, especially with the schooling matched with it. I just watched Christy Glass Knits Tell Me About Your Rhineback Sweater video where people submitted their sweaters in, and then I was like looking at all those and being like, oh my gosh, so I want to knit this one and this one and this one. And you have to, I think, really focus in and not get too distracted. A lot of the patterns, though, I've noticed, because I am a beginner, sometimes when you get them, they aren't as beginner friendly as we would like them to be, especially now. I do like that little bit of extra help. I do go to the knitting group in our local area. We do socially distance, and it's a small group and everything, and I can ask questions there, but it's a bit tricky sometimes, like when you're learning different cables or anything. Like when I did this hat Dana last year, I remember my first one, I didn't even do this part here. I totally screwed everything up, and it was a drapey material, so it didn't hold up with much structure, but I was able to get help with that one for my knitting group, so that was awesome because then I was able to accomplish it. I was feeling good, and they wrote really simple instructions just so that I could understand, because I'm more of a visual learner than reading it and trying to understand cables and stuff. So really nice to have that guidance. So I hope your knitting is going well and you're finding a little bit of time even every day to knit just a little, you know, a couple rows every day does make it go a long way, and just being crafty, and there's just now so many, you know, pumpkin patterns you can knit. I do have this one, and we'll see if I knit it this year, but it looks super simple. It's a crochet pattern, which you could crochet it and or knit it, because it's literally knitting a dishcloth size for your foot for it to wrap around. You sew it up, or you can crochet it together, I guess, or maybe you could probably even, well, you'd have to figure it out, but near the front of your foot, you don't end up knitting it so close together, so you have the round in the foot. And then you sew on some leather to the bottom of your sole. Those slippers definitely look amazing, especially because I have bought slippers before and they didn't have anything on the bottom except maybe some like grip stuff, but they wore really fast because you know, wool and hardwood floors don't always mix, so you really want to have some sort of barrier, and they just put it at the front of the foot and the back of the foot. Unless you have really flat feet, you could put the whole material across. But I thought that was pretty interesting, and that's maybe something that I'll do for Christmas or something. I hope you guys are using some of your stash wool or supporting local people in your area or getting some more wool so then you're able to make those Christmas gifts, because I mean handmade gifts are the best, and there's lots of, it seems like lots of virtual knit nights and stuff you can join and kind of get that interaction. And yeah, there's no real conventions or events happening, so finding stuff online definitely gives you an edge, or it gives me an edge of getting motivated and being like, oh, I want to have this knitted by the next event, or some sort of progress at least, so you can talk about it or share it, or you know, get other people inspired to do it. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.